Announcements for this week's episode. I just want to remind you guys that I will be spoiling The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom a bit, just the few hours that I played. So I'm just warning everybody that if you don't want to be spoiled, you may want to skip this episode. Also, way back on May 24th, 2021, I did a final review for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's episode 105. I'm going to leave that episode in the YouTube show notes so you guys can go there and listen to the episode there if you want to listen to that. It's pretty long. It's about 2.5 hours. I had a lot to say to it. In fact, it's kind of a memorial. A friend of mine passed away in that episode. We were talking about it because it had just come out. He actually gives me a hard time for only allowing him to play the game for like 2 days before he talked about it because I wanted the game back really bad. So I'll leave that in the show notes. Also, just another heads up, I will be talking about the death of a parent in this episode, so I just want to make you aware of that. But I think that's on the announcement this week, so we'll get to the show. Hello, my name is Joseph Carlson, and this is episode 209 of Gaming with Grief, and I'm calling this episode Back in My Hyrule Feelings. But I want to remind everyone that this show will hit my website, www.gamewithgrief.com, Monday morning at 7 a.m. So please go there and leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the show. There's a SoundCloud link for the audio there. You can click on, obviously, listen to it there, like I just said, or you can download or stream the show from there. And, you can find me on SoundCloud at Gaming with Grief. Find my channel there. You can also subscribe to the podcast in either Apple iTunes, the Google Podcast, Amazon Music in the podcast section. And the video of this will go up on YouTube at 7 a.m. Monday morning. So please support me there if you like YouTube. Click, like, all that kind of stuff. Also, the video and audio will hit Spotify. The video will hit Monday evening. So if you want to listen to it on Spotify, you could do that. But the video will hit Monday evening. Anyway, I'm trying to think of what else. Okay, I think that's it. On to the main show. Hi, I'm back. Anyway, like I said during the main announcements on May 24th, 2021, I did a final review of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And back then I was using it as a kind of therapy with dealing with my mom being sick. I talked about that in that episode. She had a liver condition. And anyway, the things that I mentioned that I liked back then were, Hyrule Field was incredibly amazing to jump into and, kind of relax to and things like that. And I use it as therapy. They did a good job with audio design, the sound of the grass or wind going through the grass. The castle, the Hyrule Castle, looked like an evil version of Disney World, and I like that. I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah, I don't know why I'm saying that. I have notes right here. I did really enjoy the systems. A lot of people talked about back then about Breath of the Wild and how it allowed you to do whatever you wanted. There was the magnesis that you could take metal and move metal around. Then there was the chronesis or whatever, where you basically made, ice blocks so you can traverse rivers and things. There was also, I don't know what they call it, bomb. You made bombs, square or round bombs, which are cool. They didn't really seem to do a lot of damage, but they were more puzzle elements. And there was one other that I'm forgetting. I think stasis, which basically held something in place. You could hit it a bunch for force and then unfreeze it and it would go flying. That stuff was all really cool. And, there's been a lot of people out there talking about how Tears of the Kingdom is a massive improvement over Breath of the Wild. I totally understand that. And totally, I don't know how many hours I'm in because Nintendo, it takes a bit for them to report how long you've been in a game. I've been playing it for about a week, but it hasn't, it hasn't reported yet. But I will say, it's amazing to me that, like a lot of people pointed out, after Breath of the Wild, people are like, where are people going to go from here? And nobody really knew. But again, I don't really talk about systems and whatever, but I'm going to have to for this episode. So like I said with the Breath of the Wild episode 105 in Gaming with Grief, my mom was recovering from surgery. She had a liver procedure done, TIPS, I believe it was called. So she was in recovery for a long time. During this time, she was in and out of the hospital. I had set down several games, picked up several games, and one of them I picked up was Breath of the Wild. I'm going to do that a lot in this episode, is Breath of the Wild. And when I was playing Breath of the Wild, I was kind of using it as a chill thing because as my mom was being sick or, in the process of recovering, you have to deal with insurance, you have to deal with social workers, you try to find out her medicine. I tried to work out a caretaker for her because part of her procedure was that she was getting somewhat forgetful and had to take medication to remove the ammonia in her system. The medication started with an L, but I can never remember what it was. It was very affordable, which was nice. It's like $15 for a bottle. But she had to take that all the time, but then she couldn't remember to take it because they said, this is toxic. You get ammonia in your system. Your body has to heal. You have to do all this stuff and get this ammonia out of your system. Your liver has to start working correctly. It's a long process. And, again, dealing with insurance and whatever, it was so stressful. I would come home and play Breath of the Wild. I would run through Hyrule Field. I never treated it as this serious game. And although, again, I like the mechanics, I like the game, I thought it was so inventive what they did. I really just used it as a chill puzzle box to go, try out and just do things I thought was interesting in the game. And that is when, again, people talked about how could this be one-upped. I talked about it in episode 105, where do they go from here, stuff like that. And I think it's kind of unfair, too. I've been thinking about this a lot as Tears of the Kingdom came out. We are like day 8 of it being released, and immediately some people in the press will be like, what's next? You know what? I don't care. I'm not going to discount those people for like theorizing because you always wonder where you're going to go and what's going to happen and things like that. But at the end of the day, these developers did the best. They did an amazing job. It took them 6 years. I really just want the developers to relax and have some time to themselves. But I guess without further ado, let's talk about Tears of the Kingdom. To be honest, the clip that I just showed you, that was the second time that was happening. But I had to show you guys what it was, I'm trying to do these better, and I figured out a way to get gameplay into the pod. So for audio listeners, this is me just basically running around, Tears of Hyrule Field right in the beginning. And so this is me. Landing, running around. That's what you just saw. If you listen to this, you probably just heard a bunch of gear rattling around on Link, but that's it. That's when I touched down. Again, this was the second time I did it, but I did take a moment of the first time, and it brought all those feelings back of, the relaxed nature of running through Hyrule and the smile and sense of adventure I was going to have from doing it. It made me smile, and it blew me away. And it really, it made me miss my mom, which is weird. It's a weird thing to say. But I think what's so special about this game, and like I said, most these I don't talk about systems, but I will this time. She loved puzzles, and she was actually very good at pretending to be passionate what I was passionate about. I mean, I guess that's a little harsh. But she would listen to you when you ranted about, something that was great to you that you had to show off to her, that she would listen and smile. She was the first person that bought me World of Warcraft for my birthday, and she had to sit or stand in Best Buy, I should say, and listen to me spiel about how all these people were coming together. And at that time with World of Warcraft, there was a sticker on the box telling people how many people were in Azeroth. Like, I think at the time I bought it 8 or 9 million. They were still on the come up. I think 11 was the most that I remember seeing the sticker on the box. Could have been more. Anyway, she had to sit there and listen to me while I did that, and just kind of smile. And then she bought me the thing. But this all changed kind of like when Wii Sports came out, which I think was out at that, maybe it was out at that time. Anyway, she came over and had a blast playing bowling and golf. We love bowling. That's basically what we did. I think a lot of families have the same story. It blew a lot of people away. But she would comment on like, oh, I hooked it. I gutter ball. Kind of a normal story that families have, I think, around the Wii, because, that was a magical thing. But my mom would smile and we'd laugh like we were in a bowling league. It was pretty crazy. My mom was like a real bowler. She was in a bowling league for a while. She killed. I remember her scores were like 280. She got really good. And I remember my grandmother, I don't know if bowling runs in the family, but my grandmother actually got a perfect game. Anyway, that clip was me failing at flying. For the audio listeners, I built a contraption, it caught on fire, and then ran out of juice because in this game you have a battery power, and boom, it was gone. But anyway, um, like I said, can when I sat down to play this game, I thought to myself, can I divorce what I thought for the first game and just play this game as a game? I really wanted to go into it. I was thinking of my mother, like I said, Breath of the Wild makes me think of my mom. And I thought, can I divorce all of that from the game when I sit down this time to play? And the answer is no. No, I couldn't. So I think this game is going to be special for a different reason for me. But I think what's amazing is that it makes me feel closer to my mom in a weird way that, like, every time I do a puzzle in this game, again, I'm going to talk about mechanics. The fact that they give you the Ultra Hand ability to fuse things together, the ability to basically create any contraption you want with things that are lying around, and the Zonai devices, the gotcha things that you keep on in your inventory, they're like basically the world is your oyster. Other games you play something, you're like, oh, they want me to do X, Y, and Z. Right before I recorded this, I was playing, of course, and I came to a cliffside, and I wanted to get to a lookout tower. In Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, when you open a tower, it doesn't tell you everything on the map to go find. What it does is it just shows you the terrain, and I just wanted to know the terrain. And what I think is really interesting is when I did this long leap. I fell off a sky island because I got booted off by an enemy, and I thought, well, I'll at least try to go down to this tower. And with my glider, I barely made it to this cliffside. And then again, the lookout tower was on another cliffside. I don't know how far away, but it was so far away I didn't know if I was going to get to it. And they left a Zonai glider there, just sitting right next to a rock, because they knew, hey, when they get to this cliffside, they're going to try to go over, to that place. And I had wheels. I had a cart on me. I had that. I had fans. I just got the rockets, by the way. But let's go, right? Got it up, had my little Kitty Hawk moment, hit off the cliff, and I almost made it to the tower. But the Zonai devices do have a power to them, so the glider disappeared, and I was able to glide the rest of the way, and I literally landed on the front doorstep of the lookout tower. Things like that, in a weird way, remind me of my mom, because she would be sitting here if I was playing it, showing her it. She would be the one trying to suss out, oh, look, they put a glider there. Do you got a rocket? I think her mind would just start going because she loves stuff like this. And I hate to say it, she's a little impulsive. She probably would have bought a Switch right away. Sure, that's not bad for Nintendo. Probably bad for my mom. But, this was the kind of game that would get her brain working. And the more I kept solving puzzles, the more I kept thinking about that. And I thought, it makes me think about my mom. It makes me sad that my mom isn't around anymore, but kind of happy that it makes me think of her in a good way. To be honest, I think when people pass away, especially right when it happens, you focus on the immediate terrible thing, the moment of death, maybe the phone call. Again, maybe dealing with insurance, social workers, that stuff. It's so frustrating. But to have the distance, and I think that's what Breath of the Wild, and to this extent, Tears of the Kingdom gives me, the distance, that instead of focusing on the bad things like I did with Breath of the Wild, that I'm focusing on the good things, the things that I remember my mom for, the positive things. I'm able to take that distance away, that 6 years literally between her, probably 5 years between her passing. Well, she passed away. Well, anyway, the years it took, the distance to not focus on the terrible things and to focus on the truly good things. The things that made me smile about my mom. I've talked about it before. We went on a road trip. That was an amazing experience together. We, playing Wii Sports with her, watching movies with her. whenever I'd watch a movie with her, while we were watching the movie for the first time, she would she would ask me questions. Why is that person saying that? Why is this person doing this? Why is the person doing that? And I had to stop her in the middle of a movie we were watching and say, "Gee, Mom, I don't know. Let's find out together." And yeah, that was my mom, and I love her. And Tears of the Kingdom allows me to think of my mom in her best way, her inquisitive way of trying to figure stuff out. It is removed from the disease that basically killed her later. The procedure, it isn't really clear, how she passed away to this day. I think it was sepsis, but it's able to me to have a little bit of peace. And when I smile in this game and think of my mom, I think of her in a great way. So I think if any game can get an 11 out of 10, you did it, Nintendo. You got an 11 out of 10. And I will keep playing Tears of the Kingdom when I need a moment to relax, just like I did with Breath of the Wild. But it means a lot. So, this game puts a smile on my face more than any other game. And I think, but I want to remind everybody before we leave that this podcast will hit my website, www.gamewithgrief.com, Monday morning at 7 a.m. Please go there and let me know what you think of the show. You can also subscribe to the podcast on either Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music in the podcast section. You can also watch the video version of the podcast on either YouTube at 7 a.m. in the morning, Monday morning, just like it hits the website. And the video will go up on Spotify Monday evening. So if you want to go to those places, please support the show. Subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to up my importing, just trying to be a better podcaster, trying to do all this stuff with production. It's taking me more time, but I'm enjoying the time that I'm spending now. And, also you can find me on Twitter at JustLittleJoe. So go to those places, interact with me, tell me how I can improve. Maybe you want me to cover a game or something like that. Go to those places, and that would be great. And I think that you guys have a good week, and I will see everybody next week.